listening to Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX Austin, HD1 and HD2. It's another great week here. Happy Labor Day. Good morning. It's 7 a.m. Got a lot of sports to talk about today. We're going to start off talking Texas Longhorn Football. What happened? What happened? I'll tell you in a little bit. Then we're going to move on to some more college football. We'll talk Miami, LSU. We'll talk about Oklahoma. How did they do without their Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Baker Mayfield? They did pretty well, actually. Then we're going to move on. We'll talk MLB. We'll look back at last night's Astros victory over the Angels and the playoff predictions as we move forward with just about 4 weeks left in the season. 40-man rosters expanded on September 1st, so new guys are coming in, and more people are getting playing time. We'll talk, do we think the 40-man roster deserves to be in September, or would it be better in April during the first month of the season? We'll talk about that later. And then, of course, the NFL regular season begins this Thursday night as the Falcons head into Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. The Eagles without Carson Wentz, who is not cleared for contact yet, and they will have Nick Foles at the helm this Thursday night. Some really great stuff today. Again, we'll be talking Texas Longhorn Football right after this short break, and then we'll move on to some more college football. We'll hit up the MLB, the NFL, and we might even touch on some golf. The fourth round, or the final round coverage of this week's race to the FedEx Cup begins later today, about in a couple hours, and a top 70 advance, so we'll see what happens there. And then with that, we're going to take a short little break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Stick around. This is Bazar Sports Radio on KVRX, HD1, and HD2. Support for KVRX comes from Airy Reel, back on the road and in Austin Monday, September 24th through Wednesday, September 26th. The pop-up tour with Airy's latest collection can be found near UT Austin at the University Co-op, September 24th through the 26th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. More information is available at ae.com. All right, and it's time for the one. And, of course, the one is going to be Texas football. What happened? I asked last week, are the Longhorns back? Well, I guess that question got answered on Saturday, because that would be a no. I was watching Fox, a pregame show right before the game, and one of the guys, I think his name was Rob, was talking about how he can see the Longhorns in his college football. You'll see them in the college football playoff. They're going to win the Big 12 championship. Not after that performance, are you kidding? They punted 9 times. Had 3 turnovers on the final 3 possessions. What are you going to do with 9 punts and then not being able to score on the final 3 possessions of the game? Tom Herman said on Saturday when somebody asked if the loss feels like last year. No, because I feel like in the middle of today's game we showed them the team we can be. Last year it would have been a lull the whole game. Obviously, losing doesn't feel great, but I think we can learn from it, and all of our goals are still on the table. It looked like the same team last year was the same team this year. Nothing's changed. Play calling, same thing. Nothing changed. Let's go on the possessions. We'll take a look at the possessions. A couple of the possessions. We'll start out with the first possession Texas had. 5 plays, 6 yards, 2 minutes and 19 seconds. First play, delay of game. That's a great way to start the game. Second play, pass incomplete. Now you're second and 15. Second and 15, another pass incomplete. Pass complete for no gain. Third and 15. You got lucky. You got a holding call. That's first down. First and 10 now, Texas 30-yard line. 2-yard loss for a run. Then next play, second and 12, they decide to run the ball and get 3 yards. Great, now you're 3rd and 9. What do? You throw an incompletion. Turnover, 4th and 9, you punt the ball. It was the same exact thing. The second drive, well, they scored because they got great field position off of a wonderful punt return by Brandon Jones for 33 yards. You're now in Maryland's territory. Then you come back after the touchdown, which was a beautiful pass. Not an even better catch by Devin Duvernay. It was a 39-yard touchdown. Then your third possession. You go 3 plays, 4 yards. Run for no gain. Run for 4 yards. Passing complete. It's the same thing over and over. Run on first, run on second, try to pass on third. You're digging yourself in a hole on first. Now, I'm not saying you can't run the ball on first down. Sure, run it. But then if you're 2nd and 10, why would you run it again? Oh, to get 2nd and 8 or 3rd and 8? Well, you want to, for 3rd down, the goal is to be 3rd and 5 at the most, if anything. You're not giving your offense any chance by going run that may get 2 yards. No, sure, there are some good runs we had. However, when you go run, oh, now we have to pass. Why don't you throw play action in there? Get under center. Do something that will throw the defense off guard. I was predicting plays as the game was going on. I was turning to my buddies of mine as we were watching the game. This is going to be a handoff of the middle. Ooh, good. Screen pass left. We're going to see the same play next. Sure enough, we did. Why? I don't know. That's not... I have no answers for that. That's the offensive coordinator and Tom Herman's job. We're paying Tom Herman about $5 million a year. $5 million. And our offense is doing that against Maryland. Maryland has beaten 2 ranked opponents, I think since 2011. Guess who they were? It was us this year, and I wonder who the other one was. Yeah, that's right. Us last year. Somehow they perform outstanding against us, and we can't do anything to stop them. We came out so flat. It was we were just going through the motions. Did we practice? Because it didn't look like it. I will say the second quarter looked pretty darn good. They ran some plays that I didn't see last year, or if I did, I didn't see enough of last year. Why did I not see enough of it last year, and why am I now just seeing these plays? Well, we're trying to change things up. Well, you should have changed it up in the first quarter when you started off slow. After the first drive, you're running the same plays. Change it up. Move on. I'm going to keep racking on the play calling until something changes. When something changes, I will give credit where it's due. If all of a sudden, I'm not giving credit against Tulsa this week. If we beat Tulsa, it's because we did. We need to beat Tulsa, and we should beat Tulsa. It's the same thing as last year. We played Maryland, came back against San Jose State. We destroyed San Jose State. Everyone was like, wow, look at the play calling. It worked so well. Yeah, look at the defense comparison. You're playing a Big Ten defense. Now you're playing a Conference USA defense. It's a little bit different. I'm not trying to hurt on the Conference USA, but you got a Power 5 versus a non-Power 5. When we play USC in 2 weeks, if the same thing that happened in Maryland's game happens in USC, we have some problems. One, what is going on with coaching? Why is something not changing? And what is going on in the film room? Because it's the same thing over and over. I'm not a football coach, and if I can notice these things and say, that doesn't look right, and a person who is getting paid to be the football coach is not seeing these things work out and is still doing the same thing over and over, then that's a problem. However, They come out against USC and run the plays they ran in the first quarter. USC's going to run all over us. Offense won't be able to do a thing. It's going to be the same thing over and over. However, if they come out and play like they did in the second quarter, where they scored 15 points, then we might have a shot. And then people might say, okay, we are getting better. But if we run the same plays, if we hand off left, hand off right, not even a handoff, it's more of a set hut, take it back, pretend to pass. Oh no, we're going to hand it off. Just a little draw. Or we take the snap and immediately throw a screen pass right, screen pass left, or run the same exact plays over and over again. Then I'm going to come back next week and the week after and say the same thing I'm saying right now. What is going on with the offense? Now, the defense, they did come out flat too. They didn't look very good in the first quarter. However, they did turn it around. But when your offense isn't doing anything and they punt 9 times and then they have 3 turnovers in the last 3 possessions of the game, what are you supposed to do? The defense is holding their own. Holding their own. They held Maryland to a field goal that got Maryland had a 34-29 lead. Texas then got the ball, threw an interception after 2 plays. Maryland punted. They had 3 plays of 1 yard. Look at the defense there. Look at that stand. We then fumbled after 6 plays, 40 yards. 3 plays, 4 yards, Maryland. They had to punt. Then what do? We throw an interception to end the game. A lot of people were talking about how, oh my God, it's the defense right now in the beginning of the game. Well, they stood their own at the end of the game. They didn't have the best first quarter, but they turned it around. They started off weak and finished really, really strong. The offense, they started very weak. They turned it up a notch. And then they just took the plane home early. They got an earlier flight and left. Well, that was week 1 for you. Sam Ehlinger, 21 completions off of 39 attempts. 263 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Didn't have an interception until the last 3 drives, where he threw 2. Also, what I don't understand, who's the running back? You got Trey Watson, 12 carries, 52 yards, 4.3 yards a carry. Keontae Ingram, 6 carries, 37 yards. That's 6.2 yards a carry. He had a touchdown. Ehlinger ran for 7 carries for 30 yards. Then Daniel Young had 8 carries for 27 yards. Kyle Porter ran once for 2 yards. Deshaun Jameson, 2 carries for -6 yards. Who's the distinguished running back? I guess there's a difference between 12 and 6. But I don't understand. If you're having a guy who has 6.2 yards a carry, why is he not running the ball more? Why does he not have more touches? That's Keontae Ingram. And why did Kyle Porter get 1 carry? He scored on it too, but why did he only get 1 carry? There is no distinguished running back on this team, it looks like. Now, hopefully we'll see it as the season goes on. But the question is, will we? I'm going to be honest, I have no idea. Because it's never the same. Last year was strange. Chris Warren was owning guys running downfield. Yet halfway through the season, he stopped playing. Nobody really knew why. But then when he would play, he actually played pretty well. We averaged 3.9 yards per rush. We had 36 rushing attempts. Maryland had 46. I'm not saying we should rush more, which is actually a movie. However, we need to have a better idea of what we're calling. Because going run, then a pass is not a great use of your running game. Going run, pass, and then if you're in a good situation to run the ball again, I like that. I don't want to see the same play over and over and over again. Because if I know the plays, they know the plays. And when they know the plays, it's not going to work out very well. And with that, that is your one story of the day. That is the one. We will be right back. Stay tuned. KVRX HD1, HD2. We'll be right back. We are back. It's Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1 and HD2. We just wrapped up the one where we questioned Texas Longhorn Football legitimacy and what they have to offer for the year and if they have anything to offer for this season. We're going to continue with college football here. We're going to talk about Big 12 rival of the Horns, the Oklahoma Sooners. Without Baker Mayfield, they look pretty solid. Very solid. They looked really, really, really good. They put up 28 points in the first quarter. Put 14 up in the second and third. Finished it off with 7 in the fourth. Kyler Murray, top draft pick in the MLB draft, playing probably his final season as an Oklahoma Sooner and his only season as their starter, didn't even have to play the entire first half. Murray, who went 9 for 11, 209 yards, and 2 touchdowns, ran 4 times for 23 yards. They had 650 yards of total offense. That's why they're considered one of the best offensive teams in the country. And who thought that they wouldn't be okay without Baker Mayfield? Because I sure as hell didn't. They look like the exact same team as last year. They did not slow down. They kept the engines churning. Texas looked like the same team as last year, so I guess there's consistency. Rodney Anderson, OU running back, 5 carries, 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. That's a good day. It's a really, really good day. 20 yards a carry, not bad. It's a great way to start the season. Put up those stats. Penn State held on just a tad. They went to overtime against Appalachian State. Or Appalachian State. Excuse me. What does that tell you about Appalachian State? Stop scheduling them Big Ten football teams. That was almost a scare by Penn State, and they beat Michigan a few years ago. They're not just the FCS team, we're going to have a tune-up game. Because they didn't play like it. Zach Thomas, Appalachian's quarterback, 25 of 38, 270 yards and 2 touchdowns against a very good Penn State defense. And remember the guy I said last week who has the biggest expectations in the Big Ten? That would be Miles Sanders, the running back, taking over for Saquon Barkley. Not a bad day from him. 19 carries, 91 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Also 3 receptions, 20 yards. So he's doing it all. He's left off. I think, like I said, he's going to be a very good player, and he has a lot of hype around him. But he's really got to hold his own. 4.8 yards per carry. And Penn State has some good running backs. Miles Sanders, and then, of course, Trace McSorley, who is their starting quarterback, ran 12 times for 53 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ricky Slade, 6 carries, 39 yards and a touchdown. The difference between Penn State's running back situation, and I apologize for going back, but I have to, the Horns, is they have a distinguished running back, which does help the offensive line. Because the offensive line has a feel of how they block for a certain guy because they know of his tendencies when he runs. Is he a downplane runner? Does he like going side to side and going back a bit? Does he like cutting through gaps, or does he like running around the gaps? Miles Sanders looked darn good. I wouldn't be surprised if his name's up there as we approach Heisman in December. Stanford ran away with it. KJ Costello, 21 of 31, 332 yards and 4 touchdowns. Stanford came off a little flat, but they turned it up a notch really, really quickly. I don't mind the team starting off a little flat. It's the first game of the season. I totally understand that. But overall, as a team, if you're going to start out like that, you got to turn that notch up high. And you got to stay up there. You got to have that bar up top. And your bar's got to stay there. I don't care what team you're playing, but if you're going to come out soft, you better finish off strong. Because college football is a tough place to win, no matter who you're playing. Any team could beat any team. I want to say Alabama could lose to some of the FCS teams. But if they just didn't care, yeah, there's potential. Michigan State struggled against Utah State. They secured a 38-31 victory. Alabama. Well, they did Alabama things, beating Louisville 51-14. Quarterback problems with Alabama? Not really. You got two guys who can lead any program they want in the country. You got Tua and you got Jalen Hurts. Tua got the start. I did like what Nick Saban said. I know he got a lot of scrutiny for that, about getting angry with one of the ESPN reporters. But it's true. The media is making it into a battle between the quarterbacks and Nick Saban. Both quarterbacks are capable of leading the Crimson Tide to a college football playoff berth. There is no doubt about that. However, it appears that the sports media is trying to, I don't want to say trying to, but you're looking at it in some ways that they're trying to butt heads with Alabama's quarterback and Nick Saban, which I don't like. Tua was considered the starting quarterback, or he's named the starting quarterback, because of what happened in camp and what he did in the national championship. Not discrediting what Jalen Hurts did last season, but that was Nick Saban's decision. Nobody should say, oh, because he's better than the other, why will this guy ever start? Sure, that's definitely questions you can raise, but don't try to turn the quarterbacks against one another. Playing for the same goal to win a national championship. Of course, both would love to start. Now, you probably will see one of the guys transfer at the end of the year. If Tua starts the entire year, he will be the quarterback next season, and Jalen Hurts will most likely be out. If Jalen takes over for Tua, Tua might be out as well. So I'm sure teams around the country are licking their chops, hoping that one of these quarterbacks flusters and moves on from the Crimson Tide. Gets another ring and then moves on. Because I would be jumping on that as soon as possible. Alright, Clemson took care of business against Furman, no surprise. Georgia holds Austin Peay to 0 points. Jake Fromm looked very good behind center. 12 of 16, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ohio State, no problems without Urban Myers. Dwayne Haskins, 22 of 30, 313 yards, 5 touchdowns. Not just that, Mike Weber, 20 carries, 186 yards, 3 touchdowns. Ohio State took down Oregon State 77-31. Is Iowa State going to fluster? Nope. They're looking pretty good. Now, TCU will be an interesting game in 2 weeks. They got Rutgers at home, and then they head, I think, to Dallas. Yeah, that's right. Dallas to play TCU. That will be the first test for Ohio State this season. Auburn took down Washington 21-16. That was a fun game to watch. I have nothing else to say about that. Just 2 very good football teams. And both could potentially end up in the college football playoff. Sure, Washington starts out with a loss. But it is a quality loss. You don't see Maryland and Texas, that was not a quality loss. This was a quality loss. Neutral site. Both teams played very well. Defenses held their own. It was a good top 10 battle. All right, what else we have? Michigan. No, we'll start with LSU. We'll do LSU Miami first. LSU Miami. Game was last night. Well, LSU third down efficiency wasn't very good. 3 of 16. But on the field, otherwise, they look pretty darn good. Miami QB troubles, Malik Rozier. What happened? He was supposed to be the star. Miami was supposed to be a team that could potentially take down Clemson. After last night, doesn't look like it. Clemson looks too good for them. Miami won the yardage game last night, 342 yards to LSU's 296. They had more yards per play, or per pass, I should say. Penalties, though, that was the problem. Miami, 11 penalties, 85 yards. LSU, 6 for 62. 85 more yards than they could have had. Miami had 2 interceptions thrown by Rozier. LSU capitalized. LSU also owned the possession. 31 minutes. Miami just 28. Disappointing game last night for Miami fans. Miami scored 3 points in the first 3 quarters, and then comes back with 14 in the fourth quarter. A little late, but maybe, just maybe, they'll come out hot next game and continue the trend to the fourth quarter. Because they held LSU to 0 points scored in the fourth. They continue what they did in the fourth to next week and then the week after. I'll come back in a couple of weeks and say, okay, Miami might be a team that could potentially give Clemson a run for their money. But now, not a chance. Clemson is still the team to beat in the ACC. And no one right now has what it takes to beat the Tigers. Michigan man. Wolverines 1-6 under Harbaugh against their biggest rivals, Ohio State, Michigan State, and Notre Dame. What happened? Shea Patterson. He was the guy that was supposed to turn this Michigan program around. Went 20 of 30 for 227 yards and an interception. Now, I can't say it's all Patterson's fault. He was scrambling outside the pocket, trying to get away from pass rushers, eluding the pressure almost every play. The offensive line was inexistent. Nowhere to be found. Until that offensive line changes or improves their gameplay, it's going to be the same thing. Not going to have a good quarterback if your offensive line can't block. Being a good quarterback, it's about 75% you, 25% offensive line. Look at Zeke with the Cowboys. His offensive line. One of the best in the country a few years ago. I'm not discrediting his accomplishment that year. But anyone could have run across with that line. Anyone. Nobody could get across that line of scrimmage. It's the same thing here. Unless Michigan begins the block, Patterson will not be able to throw the ball. That's just simple as that. So there you have it. That's your college football rundown. Some games to look out for next week. Clemson takes on A&M in College Station. Taking Clemson. I don't think the Aggies can give the Tigers a run for their money. Number 3, Georgia heads to Gamecock country in South Carolina. Let's see if Will Muschamp's defense can hold the high-powered Clemson offense. And, of course, number 15, USC at number 13, Stanford. Be a fun Pac-12 matchup to watch. That is your college football rundown for this week. We're going to take a short break. We'll be right back. We'll be talking MLB and some of the NFL before we wrap up the show. You're listening to Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX, HD1 and HD2. Stick around. Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX, HD1 and HD2. You're listening to Will Bazarsky. Just talk some college football, Horns football. We've addressed everything you could think of for Longhorn football, what the problem is. We went through some of the top college football games last week and then addressed some of the top games upcoming. Now it's time for the major leagues, the bigs. It's baseball time. We'll start out in the AL East. The Red Sox, 7.5 game lead over the Yankees. Both teams have a 1-game losing streak. However, both teams will make the playoffs. Both having a 99.9% chance of doing so. Red Sox will do it as the AL East champions most likely, and the Yankees will do it as the first place in the wild card. AL Central, it's all Cleveland. All Cleveland. 77-59. They got a 14-game lead over the Twins. One of the worst divisions in all baseball. Sure, you can say the Braves have less wins, but at least you have some competition in your 2 spot. The Phillies are just 4 games back. The Twins are 14. Okay, sure, 13. Well, look at that. The Tigers are 22.5 games back, tied with the White Sox, who are also 22.5 games back. The Mets just 8.5. So there is a chance for the for the Nationals. But not going to happen. AL Central is the worst division in baseball right now. The Indians, however, struggled in the last 10 games, but they've turned it around this season. And the AL West. My favorite division. I wonder why. Well, if you didn't know, I'm from Houston. So I guess you could say I'm an Astros fan. Great showing last night by the Stros. And Shohei Ohtani's pitching return took down the Angels 4-2. Springer, Bregman both went deep. We'll probably argue next week about how Bregman could be a potential MVP candidate. I don't think he'll win, but he's a guy who will be up there. And he's definitely the MVP of the Astros this year, leading them in almost every single offensive category. AL West, Astros hold a 2.5 game lead over the Athletics. Not a comfortable lead. A's are 6-4 in their last 10 on a 1-game win streak. Astros 7-3, 2-game win streak. What's amazing, though, the Astros have the biggest run differential in the league. Even more than the Red Sox and every other team in the National League. 221 run differential. Red Sox 212. Yankees 150. So the A's are 82-56, sitting 2.5 games back. And what I don't understand, or what surprises me, I actually talked about this in an article I wrote earlier in the summer, about teams winning on the road versus at home. The Astros were 37-32 at home. On the road, 47-21. Ten more games won on the road than at home. What? Talk about home field advantage. I think not. I just don't understand that. We should have the advantage in our home stadium. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing because come playoff time, road games are very important to win, as are home games, but road games are especially important. You're more likely to win a home game than you are a road game. And if we continue this, I wouldn't mind us being a better team on the road. We're still a good team at home. But both the Red Sox and the Yankees have better records at home. The Yankees are almost a flip, or the opposite, of the Astros. 48 wins at home, 38 wins on the road. It's pretty much the opposite of one another. No, everyone basically wins at home. All the top division teams are winning at home. Sure, the Braves, 37 wins at home, 39 wins on the road. It's a little different. That's just 2 games. I'm talking 10 games. 10 whole games better on the road. We won 2 in a row at home, though. Now the National League. Actually, before we go to the National League, we'll talk more American League. Just a quick little synopsis. Who am I going to see in the American League Championship Series? Red Sox, Astros. Red Sox, Astros. Who would replace the Red Sox or the Astros? It'd be the Yankees. Those are the top 3 teams in baseball. And I'm not trying to be a homer, but probably the best 3 teams in baseball. National League time. Atlanta Braves lead by 4 against the Phillies. Phillies looking good at home, 43-26 at home. On the road, 29-38. That's not very good. Now I'm sort of happy the Astros are winning on the road. It's better to win in front of your home crowd. But better teams win on the road. NL Central. The Cubbies, 81-55. 5-game lead over the Brewers. Cardinals sitting just 5.5 games back of the Cubs. Cubs are 8-2 in their last 10 on a 2-game win streak. Cubs have turned it up. NL West. I'm so stuck on the AL right now. National League West. The Dodgers. Los Angeles Dodgers. Half-game lead over the Rockies. 1-game lead over the Diamondbacks. Why are the Rockies not getting much credit? I don't understand that. Sure, they're 5-5 in their last 10. Got a decent pitching staff and a really good lineup. Nolan Arenado, Charlie Blackmon. Got John Gray as your number 1. Got a good ball team. Only a 32.8% chance to make the playoffs. I don't get that. Sure, the Dodgers are 8-2 in their last 10. They struggled at the beginning of the year. The Rockies have turned it up as the season has gone on. That's going to be a very fun... I got nothing else for that. A very fun time to watch these 3 teams battle. The Dodgers, Rockies, Diamondbacks. It's going to be intense. Rockies got a tough schedule coming up. Dodgers played tough games earlier in the year. I could see the Rockies overtaking the Dodgers. I know my friend Matt would not approve of that statement. But it could happen. It's baseball. Anything could happen. Week 1 starts this week for the NFL. Eagles quarterback Carson Wentz still not cleared for contact. Nick Foles will start. No surprise there. I didn't think he should be starting before week 4. Give him some rest. The Eagles are a good team, even without him. Khalil Mack traded to the Bears. Stupid. What are you doing, Raiders? You just lost a 2-time first-team All-Pro, 2016 Defensive Player of the Year, and your anchor, your defense. Oh, okay. The trade was too enticing, is what John Gruden said. Oh, we got some good stuff. Yeah. 2 first-round picks, one in 2019, one in 2020. A 6th-round pick in 2019, and a 3rd in 2020. Ooh. It's a good trade. Are you kidding? I don't think so. You're basically throwing away the season. You're throwing away your defense. That is your guy. He won a report because of money. Okay. Pay the guy. Gruden said the price demand was too high for the Raiders. So what are you going to do? You're going to use these 2 first-round picks to do the same thing? Let's just say they get 2 great players. 2 guys who end up being all pros. And when they want to get paid, oh no, we don't have the money for them. Sorry. We're going to trade y'all now. We just can't offer you the money. We don't want to pay y'all. What's the point? Why draft the guy in the first place? We're going to get this guy really good, and then we're going to trade him and get another first-round pick. What have y'all done? Sure, if y'all made the Super Bowl, okay, fine. You can trade him. But you haven't. I don't understand what they were doing. I guess we'll find out what happens in week 1. Are the Raiders' defense going to be exposed? Or will they challenge exactly everything I've been saying? Will the Bears turn it up a notch? Or will they fluster? All right, Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1, HD2. We'll be right back. Just a 30-second break. You're listening to Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1, HD2. Great show we've had today. Texas Longhorns, are they back? That would be a no. Why? Play calling, defense coming off flat. So many things we talked about earlier in the show. That was in the 1. College football. Big games this week we talked. Michigan falling to Notre Dame. Oklahoma, Kyler Murray looking very nice without Baker Mayfield. And LSU putting down number 8 Miami. We then moved on to the major leagues. We talked playoff race, division races, teams that should be in. How I think the Rockies will overtake the Dodgers. The NFL, how ludicrous of a deal that Khalil Mack was traded to the Bears. I don't agree with it. It's not the right thing, not the right move to make. What is John Gruden doing? First off, I don't think he should have been hired for 10 years, $100 million. Never hire a coach in the NFL for that long. Also, he hasn't coached in, I don't even know when the last time he's coached. At least since I can remember. I guess we'll find out in week 1 what happens. And again, some games to watch this week. We got Clemson A&M. I'm sorry, Clemson at A&M. That makes more sense. Number 3, Georgia at South Carolina. And number 15, USC at number 13, Stanford. Top 3 games this week. Got Sunday Night Baseball next week. The Astros head to Boston to take on the Boston Red Sox. I always love doing a Boston accent. Why not? People who couldn't understand that, Boston Red Sox. Sounds more human. Or Southern. The Boston Red Sox. It's going to be a great matchup. It could be a potential American League Championship Series matchup. And why not? Some great baseball this week as the season continues to wind down. I did not get a chance to talk about the 40-man roster and if I think it should be in April or now. I'll do that next week. Because that is a legitimate question. When should it be? Because, anything could happen. And thanks for tuning in. This is Bazar Sports Radio, KVRX HD1. We'll see you next week. Same time, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Have a good one.